All right. So by now, you probably have heard a lot over the years about the national debt and how big it is. Well, they're not wrong. It's pretty big. In fact, just recently, the Treasury announced $1 trillion of net new borrowing. Yikes, that's a big number. As a financial planner that's helped thousands of families over 14 years navigate economic uncertainty, I'm starting to hear this question a lot more these days than I have in some recent history. So here's what's happening. When government debt surges, it typically will weaken the currency of the debtor. So over time, your purchasing power decreases. You might not really feel it as much in the grocery store because we all work in US dollars. However, things like commodities, for example, everybody wants them around the world. So things like oil, copper, steel, even precious metals like gold, they become a lot more expensive over time, which can create inflationary pressures as those raw materials are needed in order to make stuff. We're already seeing inflation expectations on the rise for 2025 at 3.2% amid some of this fiscal uncertainty. As we say, history doesn't often repeat itself, but it sometimes rhymes. So if you go all the way back to 2008 during the Great Financial Crisis, we saw something similar when we actually saw debt increase for the US in order to kind of get us out of a jam. During that time, commodity prices did spike substantially as investors and other countries sought to combat currency debasement or the lack of spending power in your home currency. Okay, so what does this mean for your portfolio? Look, I don't know many people that are going to be able to take delivery of steel off of a giant truck or giant reels of copper or drums of oil. Not super practical. Maybe a gold coin, a silver coin, maybe. The funny thing about that is I actually had a client years ago actually want to buy many gold bars. Doesn't come without risk. You got to pay to ship it. You got to pay to store it. We actually had to ask to make sure that their floor was strong enough to withstand the weight of all the gold. Something I don't really think they even thought about, but hey, nobody wants their floor caving in from all the gold bars that you have. A more simple way that doesn't involve some of the hassle, but still involves risk, you can actually invest in commodities and precious metals using exchange traded funds or mutual funds. Instead of actually buying the physical commodity or precious metal itself, what they do is actually buy futures contracts, which are very commonly used in industry to basically set the terms of both a price as well as a delivery time. So price and time are established for those commodities, and over time, those contracts are rolled into an investment. This is a little bit easier to purchase, frankly, a lot cheaper to process than shipping gold, but not without risk. The reality is the debt situation is not going away. Congress continues to debate year in and year out what to do with the debt amid large entitlement spending that nobody's had the will or ability to stop at this point. So as investors, we must start to think a little bit more about what could this mean in my portfolio and how could it impact my future? And we start to look at things like inflation hedges. If you're concerned about protecting your family's wealth amid this growing fiscal uncertainty, feel free to schedule a call using the link in my bio.